So I'm going to sneak in a second sermon here real quick. This story begins not at the beginning of the story. It begins actually in the middle of the story. What just happened prior to this conversation and this incident is that Jesus' extended cousin, John the Baptizer, who confronted the powers that be, was killed by Herod Antipas, who threw this wild, huge feast, and all of the powerful people were there. And that meal, it was time for the entertainment. His stepdaughter comes and dances, and he says, man, just whatever you want. And at the word of her mother, she said, well, I want the head of John the Baptist on a platter. And he's like, wow, shoot, I didn't expect that. But, well, okay, because he was scared of something and someone, of how he would lose face. That's a very different kind of a meal to the one that Jesus serves, isn't it? But that's a whole other sermon. So that never happened. The point is that Jesus is really, really depleted in this moment. He's grieving the loss of his cousin, certainly, but he's also, I think, just grieving the whole system, the whole situation. When power is expressed in opulence, callousness, cruelty, violence, fear, that's not what God intended. That's not what humanity is for. That's not why we gather. And so it is so countercultural for Jesus in this situation, aside from the fact that he is exhausted and he just wants to be on his own. How many of you are introverts? Oh, God bless you. I'm so sorry for you to have to be here with me in this situation. I'll try not to be overpowering. He just wanted to introvert for a little while, you know? He just wanted to regroup, grieve, pray, just take a breather, and maybe take stock of how do we live into this situation where we find ourselves, where violence is supreme in many, many forms. How do you live in opposition to that kind of world, that kind of system? But he has compassion on these people, and maybe that's the answer to the question, right? And so his disciples, who I think are also exhausted, many of them were followers of John to begin with, they say, you know what, let's send these guys away. People are going to get hungry if we keep them much longer. Let's send them away. It's a huge crowd. I don't know if 5,000 is really a technical term. You know, the point is it's a massive bunch of people. And so he says, you know what? We don't have to send them away. We don't have to buy them anything. We can feed them. There actually is an abundance here. We just don't see it all the time. And they're like, okay, whatever. I mean, seriously, dude, we got a couple of fish, we got 5 loaves, and these are not even like what we think of as a loaf of bread, like when you go to the grocery store and there's like a loaf of bread. It's like a loaf of bread. It's like that. Come on. How is that going to feed all of these people? And Jesus does something that's repeated, and it's repeated at the table as well, where he takes bread, he blesses it, he breaks it, and he gives it to his disciples to give to others. I mean, and somehow something happens. I'm not going to pretend to know what that was. I tend to not trust people who have a real strong handle on miracles, like, well, here's what happened. Because the thing is, like, a miracle, by definition, you can't explain it. So let's just, But Jesus is like, you know what, you think that your glass is half empty, but I'm telling you, there's so much here. And so as the disciples are handing around this bread, something happens. Some scholars say that just something, God somehow created more bread and fish. Other scholars say, well, everybody was inspired by the work of this child, by the generosity of this child to give everything that he had. I have a hard time believing that in a crowd of thousands, only one little kid brought a snack. Like, come on. That's just not. So I'm thinking of somewhere in between, right? Something happened where not only did everybody get their fill, but there was an abundance left over. There was enough that they could actually, different ones of them could take it with them and feed others along the way. I mean, I think that's what happens, right? Like when God shows up. Have you had these conversations where you think you're just having a normal interaction, but it becomes a party? It becomes like a place of healing and wholeness, where you have this thing that somehow fills you in conversation. Have you been welcomed into a situation where you just think, wow, there was something special about that? That's what happens. That's Jesus' response. And I don't know where it came from. But it happened when Jesus and the disciples felt least equipped. They felt least prepared. They felt least like they had a capacity to handle a big situation. But so often that's where God shows up. And the Spirit, the Spirit is with us. The Spirit is present. And the Spirit knows more about what we need and knows more about what's available to us than we have any idea. And so it's not a matter of the glass being half empty or the glass being half full. It's a matter of realizing, what I see is not the whole picture. Thanks be to God. And that's what